My boss refused to promote me or give me reasonable raises, so I developed skills on the company dime that got me a 100% raise at another company, by user apost 8n8. Early in my career I worked as an engineer for a defense contractor for about 4 years, getting my typical 2 to 4% raises and standard promotions that take years and years to qualify for. I realized that in my current role I was pretty much maxed out for the foreseeable future, and would be scraping by for years more, so I tried to get on the management track and got given a project engineer position to prove myself. I managed a team of 4 engineers, a designer, and 2 admins, and we designed and manufactured a system that made $1.6 million in sales in our first year of work. We got the company a patent, and were nominated by the U.S. Air Force and became finalists as DoD Contractor Technical Team of the Year. I don't recall the exact wording, and were flown to D.C. for a big awards ceremony. I spent 100 days away from my family that year, traveling to test locations, customers, vendors, etc. It was brutal, but we were wildly successful. When annual performance reviews came in, mine was 10/10. I was thrilled. Then I found out one of my team members, who had a different manager, was promoted early to a senior position and that I did not, and I just got the standard 3% raise again. I was livid. I had a meeting with my boss and his response was that he didn't think my team member deserved a promotion or a big raise, but he wasn't their boss, so basically I should try real hard again and we'll see next year. Fuck that. I basically quite quit and just barely worked my 40 HRS and went home. I never traveled unless I really wanted to, I never stayed late, I took almost every Friday off to burn through my leave. I took all my sick days, etc. My mental health was much better. The only thing I really did extra was take advantage of the education budget our group had but rarely got used. My previously promoted coworker, who I really liked personally, started taking MBA evening classes, that the company reimbursed him for, but they came with obligations to stay there for X amount of years. They also had a nice budget for software training, without such stipulations, so we both signed up for FIA and 3D modeling classes. We traveled around together taking these classes and building our resumes. About a month after the classes were finished, I secretly started applying for jobs that required those specific skills and quickly got hired for a position with a base annual income that was 200% my existing rate, plus it paid overtime. I put in my notice and my boss was really upset. We just paid for you to travel all over to learn these new skills that we need. Don't you have any loyalty or guilt? How much are they paying you? Let's see if we can match it. That's more than I make. It was, and with OT I made about 3x the following year for a competitor. Life-changing good times. Mom ignored me asking her not to announce my birthday at restaurants, by user Bing710. My brother and I are both the kind of people that don't like to be the center of attention. For our birthdays we would go out for dinner and our mom would tell the servers that it was our birthday so they would come and do whatever the restaurant's birthday song is. We hated this and we would constantly ask her not to do it. She would smile and laugh and say okay then do it anyway and make some excuse about how she just wanted to celebrate our birthdays. My brother and I got sick of this, so we started telling the servers it was our mom's birthday on random meals. The servers would come out singing happy birthday and mom would look around to see whose birthday it was, only to have them come to her. My brother and I kept this up for months. The final straw for her was when we were out for my dad's dinner and the servers came to her singing happy birthday. My dad thought it was funny and my mom finally agreed to stop. Edit to add that this happened when I was a teen in the 90s. It's been over 20 years since anyone in my family has done this to anyone. Roommate burned my food, so I matched his energy, by user Heroldo1. Years ago I decided to go back to school for a career pivot. I had to keep expenses low, so I moved into a sort of shared student apartment in the basement of an old apartment building. We each had our own locked rooms along a hallway, but had a shared kitchen/bathrooms. No one really socialized beyond reminders to e-transfer for the shared internet. One night I got home from classes and work around 10 p.m. and decided to make myself a frozen pizza. Cash was tight, so it was a bit of a luxury food item for me. I popped it in the oven at like 375, set an alarm and went back in my room to wait the 25 ish minutes recommended by the packaging. About halfway through the cook time I heard the oven door open, as it was old and always made a loud noise. A few seconds after I heard one of the other students closing their bedroom door. I went to check the oven and saw that someone had put a big tray of chicken breasts in the oven too. I thought nothing of it, and went back to my room until the timer was done. When I went out there to pull out my pizza it was mostly burnt. The fucker had put his stuff in the oven and cranked it up to 425 without telling me. Fine, put your shit in the oven, but don't change the cook temp without saying anything. To me that is a huge dick move. The pizza was just burnt enough to be terrible, but I still had to eat it. After fuming internally for a minute or two, and having a minor existential crisis about how pitiful my life is, I went back to the kitchen area in a rage and cranked the oven up to 500 with his chicken still in there. After a bit I heard the smoke alarm going off, and shortly after someone swearing. I stepped out into the darkened hallway and, in a slightly ominous tone, said, "Everything all good, bud?" He stammered something about being fine, and was trying to scrape the charred chicken off the baking sheet. I went back into my room and ate the rest of my terrible pizza. I moved out not long after that. "Fuck your chicken. You yelled at me for not using the compost? Fine, I'll chew you out about being a creep in front of your wife," by user Dragon Fart. I finally get to post something here. I'm still high on the adrenaline from this one. This has happened like 10 minutes ago as I'm writing this. Context: I, 21F, live with my mom and stepdad, mid-50s, at my stepdad's parents' place, mid-70s. My parents have lived here for 10 years now, and I used to visit a lot when I was a kid. I've lived here now for about a year after finally leaving my father's place. Stepdad's stepdad, Lee, is an absolute creep. He's not subtle about it too. Everyone in the family knows, but I genuinely can't tell if his wife is oblivious to it or just doesn't care. 10 years ago, he tried getting me to spend time with him in his office by showing me animal videos and trying to get me into the Diablo games. Thanks to my instincts around predatory men, thanks Dad, I did not go into that office again. My stepsisters all experienced him creeping on them too. They've made it clear he's not invited to their gatherings. He got scammed 30k from one of those fake email girlfriends. Who paid it off? His wife. He leaves his phone upright on the kitchen counter and gets Discord notifications from the furry hypnosis Discord server he's on. He only speaks to me or looks at me if I'm wearing shorts, makeup, or a skirt, or if I have a girlfriend over. Otherwise, complete radio silence. I had enough of it today. I'm in raging PMS mode right now. I can hardly stand being around my favorite people right now, so being around the people I hate? Definitely not easy. I usually try to let this rage out at the gym, so I got in some shorts and on my way out I see this motherfucker staring at me. I was so close to saying something but I figured I should just let it go, get the adrenaline out, then come home and eat and sleep. Done. After I came home I finished my dinner and was just sitting at the table texting my friend, and he came to the table to monitor his insulin. I left the table. I wasn't just gonna sit there and watch him, and for some reason that triggered something in him. Maybe he could sense I was in a shitty mood and took that personally. I throw away my scraps in the garbage, and he comes up to me, gets in my face and yells, saying something along the lines of, "You know food? Like edible food? It goes in the compost." He aggressively opens the cabinet under the sink and the compost bin like a raging child. "There. In there." And stomps away. As he's going away I say, "Has that always been the case? Bro. I'd been here on and off for 10 years and instead of them saying I need to put food in the compost a single time, he waits for a moment to yell at me about it. He's hard of hearing so he didn't hear me. Him staring at me earlier than yelling at me was enough. I went over to the living room where he sat down by his wife and the conversation went like this, some error, I can't remember the exact wording. Me, hey, has that always been the case? I'm supposed to only put food in the compost? Them, yeah. Me, I've been living here for about a year and I've never been told. Wife, I just didn't know you were doing that. This is a lie. There have been a multitude of times she'll be doing dishes at the sink next to the trash and I throw my food away. Me, I've noticed a lot of times I won't find out I'm doing something wrong until there's this big angry outburst about it. If I'm doing something wrong you need to tell me about it when I do it. Lee, every time I tell you, you take it wrong. This was very confusing as everything he told me to do to take care of the shared spaces, I've consistently done. He stopped telling me to do these things after I asked him if he washed his hands after peeing. He didn't. And then he went and made dinner for him and his wife. I wish I was making this up. And this is when I chewed him out. Me, do you have any examples of me doing that? I've done everything you asked. And, actually, if you need something from me, I want, wife, to tell me. You make me extremely uncomfortable. You only ever talk to me when I'm wearing a skirt. You stare at me when I'm wearing shorts. You only talk to me when I have my girlfriends over. And when I was a kid, you tried to get me to spend time with you in your office. Also, you leave your phone out on the kitchen counter. I'm not trying to read what's on there, but you leave your notifications on and what's on there is extremely inappropriate. Wife, I just didn't know you weren't using the compost. Lee has a moment where he can't talk, and oh my god, the look of defeat on his face was legendary. His face just went emotionless. He shrunk down so much and got all quiet after yelling and said, how about I ignore you and you ignore me? I gave him a thumbs up and went to my room. Edit, for some reason Reddit didn't post this in the format I typed it in. Hopefully it's fixed now. Edit 2, I should have mentioned that, yes, I am in the process of moving out. I'm not insane LMAO, I'm not staying here. Edit post, years of bullying, until my dog turned the tables, by user MongKicking92. I was bullied daily since 5th grade. Punched, insulted, ridiculed. Almost the whole class took pleasure in making my life miserable. I never told anyone. I was scared. During 8th grade, it became even worse. 6 of my classmates decided to make my life totally hell before the end of school. I was walking one day around the park at home with Blumchen, my dog, a Belgian Malinois. She had been given to me from my uncle a year earlier as a gift. She was usually wearing a muzzle, but as we walked through the park I removed it so she could drink from the lake and receive treats from me when she did tricks. Usually I put it on again after we leave the lake. And then, out of nowhere, 2 of the boys used to bully me, appeared behind me, screaming and laughing, we're gonna kill you and your dog, faggot, while holding sticks in their hands. I sprinted down the walkway, terror propelling me. I turned a sharp bend, and I froze. 3 of other guys were there, 2 with sticks in their hands. My stomach fell. I screamed for help, I thought we are done. But I was worried more about my dog. Then in the blink of an eye it was over. Blumchen had run so fast ahead that I lost her leash out of my hand. She shot like a bullet at the first boy armed with a stick, jump biting his arm and dragging him to the ground. The second boy attempted to club her but she clamped down on his leg until he fell to the ground. The third boy, eyes wide with fear, turned to run. Blumchen whirled around, dashing past me, full tilt, into the 2 boys who had been chasing me. She sprang at the first boy, biting the arm in midair and slamming him onto the ground. The last boy stood there, bewildered. Blumchen stood before him, growling and snarling, springing with her front paws and snapping her jaws, as if to tell him not to dare to come closer. At last he ran away too. Then she returned to me. I was still standing there trembling, my heart still pounding. Blumchen looked up at me expecting a treat. She nudged her head against my hand as if to say, I was good. Reward me. Let's go play. That night, the police arrived at our home. They questioned me in front of my parents concerning what had occurred. I was frightened. I thought those 5 morons had fabricated twisted story, and the police were going to take Blumchen away and kill her. It seems that those lads must have already been familiar to the police for a string of crimes. Nipping shop fronts, nicking mopeds and bikes, even shop breaking. But since there was a complaint of dangerous dog assaulting children, the police officers had to investigate. I told them all about it. The bullying, the ambush, how Blumchen defended me and herself. While I spoke, Blumchen sat at my side, peacefully leaning her head on one officer's palm and licking his hand, soliciting pets and treats. She rolled over onto her back afterward, soliciting belly rubs. The officers couldn't resist smiling. My dad informed them that his brother was professionally training dogs and that his dogs bit only when they were defending their family. He then presented them with a certificate stating that Blumchen had been protection trained since the time she was a puppy. That seemed to have put that one to bed pretty darn fast. The police were off shortly afterwards. And all 5 of the boys were subsequently arrested that evening. I had to give evidence in court as a witness a few months later. 3 of them did time in juvenile jail. Then, I no longer had any issues with bullying. The school gossip was that I was a psychopath and I would send my military dog on those who teased me. Not a great reputation. But at least it was quiet and peaceful until I graduated 10th grade.